Welcome, everybody. We have a diverse group today and really want to just jam through a bunch of updates for you guys and talk about what's coming up next, kind of prep us for September. This is the meeting for the manufacturers, distributors, and what we call our industry stakeholders. And a lot of times are what we call third-party implementers that run the programs for the utilities. Yeah, so let's really quick just run and introduce ourselves, and then I'll put the shared screen up with the agenda on it. And I don't know, on my screen, Mark Thompson, you're first, but Patricia Rothwell, I'm the Executive Director of the Energy Efficiency Business Coalition. And just as a reminder, we are an association of all the trades that represent the supply chain for energy efficiency, which is fast becoming beneficial, electrification and the energy transition and all different types of things right now. So with that, Mark Thompson, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us, where you're at, and if you want to say a brief thing about what you guys do?
Hi, yes. I think I've been on before. I'm Mark Thompson from LG Electronics. I'm actually based in New Jersey, and our regional salesperson, his name is Kyle Bailey, B-A-Y-L-E-Y. I don't think he could join today, but we're interested to learn more about what's happening in the great state of Colorado, and we're becoming more active there with our distributors. So all things are looking good. Thanks.
Awesome. Great, thanks. Next, I have Justin.
Hi, I'm Justin Smith. I'm the VP of Operations for Helio Home, which is a home electrification company. We work in the Denver area and work with our trade partners to help people move away from fossil fuels and kind of have a fully carbon neutral home. So happy to join today and kind of hear some more about everybody.
Awesome. Welcome. Christine Brinker from SWEEP.
Hi, Christine Brinker with SWEEP, Southwest Energy Efficiency Project. I'm in the Denver area and I work on state and local policies and codes about energy efficiency and electrification.
Awesome, thanks. Pete Perret, who is a co-chair for this committee, and the other co-chairs bailed today. So it's all you, Pete. No, they didn't bail.
All me. Well, hello, everybody. Pete Perret. I'm the residential specialist for Gustav Larson here in Colorado. We are a distributor of products, HVAC products, Mitsubishi Train. And glad to be here. Glad to hear from everybody, and excited to see how things move forward.
Great. And Shannon, you say Jan, don't you? Yeah. Welcome from Denver.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon Jan. I'm with the Climate Action Sustainability and Resiliency Office for the City and County of Denver. I'm the Green Workforce Lead, so I work on creating opportunities for underserved community members to get into clean energy and natural resource career paths.
Awesome. And we're going to be talking about the Good Green Jobs program that we're doing with Denver, and looking to recruit your contractors to be a part of that. We'll talk more about that. Denise Grimm.
Hi, everyone. I'm with PACE, Partners for a Clean Environment, and we're a program for sustainability for businesses in Boulder County. And PACE is a program of Boulder County, our Office of Sustainability. And I work a lot with property owners, property managers, also our energy lead, and a lot on electrification.
Yeah, and you've been great jumping into a lot of different groups to keep everybody on track and then get a handle on what we're on.
Yeah, and trying to keep myself on track, right?
We're on the Marshall
going on.
Yeah, committee too. So that's a whole nother thing that's going on that we don't really talk about in this group, but thank you. Eric Wilson.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Eric Wilson. I'm a researcher at NREL, so I may be an odd duck here, but I do a lot of modeling of heat pumps. My interest is trying to understand what are the barriers and challenges to adoption, and also particularly interested in the forecast work that you all are doing. So just here to listen in.
Great, we'll frame that up for sure. Robin Henry.
Hey, I'll go ahead and echo what Eric just said. I'm real interested to hear about, what's the forefront of heat pumps and, the adoptions and new tech and all that. I'm an energy management advisor with La Plata Electric Association down here in Durango in the southwest corner.
Great. Thank you. And La Plata participated. Eebc was hired by the Colorado Energy Office to do some original research on Colorado about what are the barriers to heat pump adoption in Colorado and accelerating heat pump installs. And La Plata was one of the utilities that we interviewed. Then we talked, you guys referred us to your contractor, who then referred us to your distributor and the manufacturer. So that is loaded on our Eebc website if you'd like to take a look at that. We do have a PowerPoint presentation recap of it, and that might be something, if there's interest, we can maybe put a special meeting together to talk about that along with the forecasting. It might be valuable. So thanks for joining. Connie, you don't have to necessarily introduce yourself, but Connie Newber is our membership manager and graphics, and works with all of our members on a regular basis. So you've probably get emails from her or speak to her frequently. Casey.
I'm Casey Provorst. I'm the executive director of Energy Smart Colorado.
Casey's been involved for a long time and very up to date usually on what's happening with legislation and with intervening at Xcel and the utilities. And how many locations is there that are the delivering the different programs under?
So Energy Smart Colorado operates primarily on the Western Slope. We have 10 member organizations that cross from Summit, Lake, Eagle, Garfield, Pitkin, Yampa Valley, all the way down to Durango, Chaffee County, Gunnison. Most of the mountain communities across the Western Slope are implementing the Energy Smart program.
I'm Chris Prado. I work with Energy Solutions. We implement several efficiency programs across the U.S., including a Colorado commercial midstream cooling program with Xcel, PRPA, and Colorado Springs Utilities. So thanks for having me.
I think it's nice to hear what a cross-section of people who are interested in working on everything that's happening in our industry right now. So really appreciate you joining. And we're just going to jump into the agenda. Eebc, if you guys have any questions or things that we're going to talk about, absolutely give me a call, because we really want to plug in, especially the contractors that you work with. And with the upcoming contractor meeting, we'll have the topic that's going to be a part of that. If you'd like to reach out to Pete Perret from J.A. Larson or Sean Lamont from Mitsubishi. And also we kind of have another third co-chair, Matt Baker from Daikin. And also in the slide here on our website, after the meetings, we load the video recording and the minutes and the PowerPoint. So if there's things that you wanted to go back to and pull or take a look at, you can go to our Eebc website, and the heat pump section will also list upcoming meetings if you want to sign up for those. And we have a lot of information in our library, but I think specifically a couple items that you're going to probably want to go pop in and take a look at different times is the regulatory updates of intervening with Xcel that's coming up. And we talked about the good green jobs, pretty much, I think, everything on our agenda today. So also, if you are new to the Eebc, we do have a member application link that I think Connie's going to put in the chat for you as well. And just a reminder that in our meetings, we always want to reference before we start the antitrust law, and then we don't collude or share pricing or territory collusion or anything like that. So just want to do that as a reminder. So with the first update, we had our last meeting, we ended up having Denver's electrification rebates come and talk to us about the results and what happened with the rebate program specifically to heat pumps. And they presented just a real high level overview, but I think that there wasn't anything very new other than, they had like 286 heat pump installs. They were completed by April, like within 2 months after they launched. I think it was the end of April. They're looking for a lot of feedback, which I think they've been receiving as well, but we spent some time in that call walking through the 4 main recommendations that the Eebc members had prior to going into their rebate release. And Shannon Jessamine was in that call. She's from Denver, and she said, I'm not sure how I ended up in it, but I learned a lot. So the outcomes of that, though, you can actually go listen to that. We edited it down to like 30 minutes instead of the full hour, so it's a little bit shorter. The part that I think is most interesting are the recommendations that we had. Following that meeting, at the last meeting, so basically they came and spoke to us. Let's see, this is August. So they came to our meeting in July, presented, and that was Lee Valenzuela and Jeff Tyrel. And then we had an internal discussion at last month's meeting. And I think that was at the contractors meeting. I'll have to look, but we can include that in our email afterwards to you. But the point is that there's 4 main recommendations that our group had. And I have now scheduled with Lee and Jeff, they're going to come back in September. And what they want to do is come to a contractor meeting. So I'm asking everyone here to recruit your contractors to come to that meeting and give direct feedback. And we'll walk through the recommendations and our discussions. I might watch that with them before this meeting. They talked about sending out a survey. Maybe we can get the survey out to the Eebc members to give feedback beforehand. So we're looking to have a very collaborative, very open discussion about what our contractors believe will be needed to be a more successful heat pump rollout on the next one, with the priorities that the contractors feel like they need to be able to participate and to make it, get the biggest bang for the buck. And a couple of you are actually in that meeting, I think. So we're looking at September. It looks like we're gonna set that for Wednesday the 14th or Friday the 16th, and confirming that. And we'll send out emails to you guys, and definitely please get your contractors there, because this is going to be our opportunity to have the one-on-one frank discussion and brainstorm, quite frankly. And then we're hoping that they're going to come to us with their ideas for their next launch, and we get to vet those. So any questions on that? Does that kind of cover? But it will be a members only meeting. It won't, won't be open to the general public, because we really want to create that value for our own members to have that direct conversation. Then next, we have our hiring pipeline that we've spent the month of April and May talking to our members about what they're looking for in a curriculum of new hires, and how they want to go about connecting with the graduates of Good Green Jobs training that we're creating, and that there is a orientation modules that are directed to lighting, insulation, air sealing, and HVAC heat pumps, and also generally just understanding building science, and do you want a career in this industry. And we're targeting with 2 other organizations, Julius Education, as well as ICAST. Some of you might know ICAST is a kind of like a third-party implementer, but they implement the rebate programs in multifamily, and they do the high performance installs. And through them having problems finding the heat pump contractors to install properly, they develop their own training program, and we have that as one of the curriculums that someone can go through. So point is, through Julius, it's more of a general orientation, and we're targeting GED students. Students aren't typically going to go to college, and putting them through the orientations. And then if they say, hey, I want to go directly in and be a heat pump tech, then they would go through a it's like a 12-week program, and it's online. And then they also get a to be almost like shadowed or mentored out on their first jobs. And then the part that's so exciting is that all of those students that graduate, whether they're in an orientation or they do the heat pump specific tech training, they will get first right of refusal, they kind of say, to be hired from the Eebc members. So any contractor on any of our action groups, we will be next talking to the contractors about getting connected with their hiring manager and their production managers to start recruiting and start placing these students. And so the next step is we will have another specific meeting and talking with them deeper into what are they looking for in their hires, what do they want them to know before they come, what aptitudes should we be looking for that would be a good fit for them, and then also how do you want to connect with them when they graduate. Our group, Julius, ICAST, and Eebc, has decided that we want you to be able to, the contractors, to earlier in when they start taking the training, start connecting with them, so you can start identifying the ones you might be interested in, so that we're not just waiting until they graduate. Because from ICAST work and Eebc's and the common thread, which is work that I've done past on the workforce development piece, is that if they have an initial informational interview early on in taking these curriculum modules online, they're more likely to finish if they know there's a potential of a company they're interested in working with. So there's a motivational piece there that we think is very important to have them get engaged and decide. We don't want to place them in any companies if they find out that they're not interested, right? It saves you guys from burning and turning, going through 12 installers to find one good one. We're hoping to reduce that to less. So any questions about that? We're going to have an official meeting launch in September with our group, probably September, October, but the initial modules are being developed right now, and we're looking at the contractors. We have a couple that are participating in the curriculum development and taking the modules to help us make sure that. So just a reminder, that if you have contractors that Denver metropolitan area, this is a great opportunity for, even if your contractors are hiring and they have somebody they're interested in, but they don't have no experience. In the first 2 weeks, in the first month, if you hire somebody, you could combine our curriculum, or have them say, we'd like you to complete these 2 modules and find out if you're still interested before you do ride-alongs in the first week with us. Like, there is ideas, we're creating a pipeline to our contractors to help them get into the energy efficiency, high performance part of our industry. And I don't know, Shannon, if you want to say anything.
No, other than I'm just really excited about the program. It's coming along nicely. So good job.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. It is exciting, actually. We're already in the midst of it. So Christine Brinker actually has 2 opportunities that we want to make sure that you got to hear about and see if you have any referrals or recommendations, or you personally are interested in getting involved.
So there are 2 things that we could really use a favor for. One is the Energy Code Board. The Colorado Energy Office has applications open looking for candidates for the new Energy Code Board, and we really need good candidates to apply for that. In particular, there's a few spots that we want to make sure we have some really good people applying. One member who's a contractor who provides mechanical, electrical, or plumbing services, or represents a statewide association that represents mechanical, electrical, or plumbing contractors. and then 2 members who hold an electrical license, plumbing license, or a professional credential in the mechanical trades, at least one of whom's a member of a labor organization. So there's essentially 3 contractor spots that we need, and then they have additional spots there. Someone with building operation expertise, professional engineers, affordable housing, etc. But like I said, we really want to get good candidates to apply for the Energy Code Board. The first part of that board, I think, will be pretty easy. It is identifying code language for EV ready, solar ready, and electric ready. And we have that language in various places. So I think that part will be really easy. The second phase is identifying or designing a low energy and carbon code. So that'll take a little bit more diving in. I don't think anyone has to be an expert in energy codes to be appointed to this board. There'll be energy code nerds on the board for sure. So not everyone has to be one. And the time commitment, I don't know officially, but we can surmise based on the Building Performance Standards Task Force that the Energy Office ran, and they have meetings once a month virtually that are 2.5 hours long. So we could use that as a placeholder for what the time commitment might be. 2.5 hour meeting once a month. And so if you might be talked into applying, please do. You need a letter of recommendation from an organization that works in the state. So Eebc could get that for you. And you can check as many boxes as might possibly apply to your situation: energy code expert, efficiency expert, blah, blah, blah. And let me know if you have any questions. We can get the link out in the notes and so forth. Any questions on that one?
I'd like to make a
Cool.
comment.
Please.
Yeah, that the importance for like our group to be a part of that and have the perspective of our industry that is very experienced with energy efficiency and the higher codes that go above code with energy. So the IECC is, I think, really important on this board because it is going to be a complete range from the groups that are against codes in improvements and going to higher performance, which is what most of all of our equipment is in this group. So I think that having that voice is really critical. So if you have any aspirations to grow your resume and get a really handle on how codes get passed and put in place, this is where you want to be able to provide that balanced view, especially of where the market's going. We're one of the few home ruled states, which makes it quite a mess for all of our contractors and all of us in the marketplace, instead of flipping a switch like other states that, and then you get all the support for it. So.
Exactly. You said that so well. And I have nightmares that those 3 contractor spots will be filled with contractors that aren't familiar with heat pumps and will say, heat pumps don't work in our cold climate, and I will throw my laptop against the wall and it'll break and sweep off to buy me a new laptop. So please save me from that fate. And help me get some good contractors and other folks in there applying. And then that ties into the next favor, and that is Erie is going through a code update, and they're first of a few communities in their region that are adopting the 2021 Energy Code plus some electric preferred requirements. And that means that you can still put in gas, but if you do, you have to do extra energy efficiency. So it's really favoring putting in heat pumps and heat pump water heaters. And we do want to get that going off on the right foot, especially since Erie is the first off the block in their neighborhood and other communities around them will be adopting similar ones. It's really important to get Erie right. And in that note, they have a focus group, info meeting, feedback session thing specifically for builders and trades and contractors on August 23rd from 1 to 3. It's in person, but they'll have a virtual option. In person is obviously better if you can make it up there, but at least virtual. It's at the Erie Town Hall board meeting, which is in the back of the town hall building. And my fear there is that we will get folks from the HVA who say the codes add an extra $100,000 to the cost of a home, which is complete malarkey, and those types of naysayers. So I want to make sure that that room has at least a handful of people that know the real status of heat pumps, heat pump water heaters in new construction, and can add some of those facts into the conversation. So again, that is August 23rd from 1 to 3 p.m. Erie will be sending out invites, but it's not exclusive. It'll be posted on Erie's website, and then I'll try to get the meeting details over to Patricia and Connie so they can send those out to you guys as well. But for now, just at least put a placeholder in your calendar.
No, that's awesome. I think this is important, that if we're going to continue to move with where the utilities in the cities and everyone's going, we have to definitely keep that voice up front. And we will include in the minutes that we send out and any links that you have, after the meeting to everyone. So thanks so much, Christine. My apologies for just jumping in.
Oh, no problem. And thanks to you guys for being such a good resource.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks. So next, let's talk about the heat pump forecast group. And I don't know, Pete, I'm kind of putting you on the spot. Sure. I don't know if you want to jump in and tell us what we've been up to. I can frame it up really quick if you like, or.
Yeah, why don't you frame it up and then we can dive into it.
Okay, awesome. So the heat pump forecasting group started because Eebc, we are going to be participating in, call it advocating at Xcel for their next 2 rounds of what's going to create rebate changes for the next 5 years. They have a lot of people don't know how we call them rebates, incentives, measures, but the name of the rebate program is demand side management. And so DSM is basically the name of the program that develops the rebates. And I think it's confusing, especially contractors. I mean, I didn't know what any of those words were until those are all the legal names for the legal process that we're required to go through and take an attorney to make changes or modifications or recommendations to get them into the rebates. If they don't get into the plan, which is every 2 years, right now we're looking at a 1-year plan for 2023, and that was filed by Xcel in July and will end in December. And that's basically an extension of the current 2021-22 existing codes with some changes to them. And then, so that's one, what we call a docket. It's a legal settlement proceeding. And then the other one is what they call strategic issues. And that's setting the goals for the entire DSM program for the next 5 years. So that sets the floor. Like Xcel, the minimum that they need to spend is $100 million a year. And then, okay, what's that going to go into? Okay, the thing that's changing is beneficial electrification. Xcel is going to be with the Public Utilities Commission, drives this and manages it. And beneficial electrification rebates are going to be developed. They're going to create a pot of money for that. We have gas rebates that are going to change and electrification that are going to change. Demand response is one of the hottest topics coming in beneficial electrification. So all of that is going to be decided. Then next year, that strategic issues, outcomes, the rulemaking around the whole program and all the goals get set. And is carbon going to be a measurement in addition to energy efficiency? All those things are going to be debated legally. Then the other piece is the plan for 2024-25 is going to include the outcomes from the strategic issues. We call it a docket, and from the 2023 DSM docket. And then next year they get combined, and we have a really big year next year. So the problem that we see in the heat pump committee here, this is where Pete, I'm teeing you up, is that we see the greenhouse gas roadmap that was put about by Colorado Energy Office. We see the legislation that was passed, the clean heat legislation that was passed, and all these goals and the city of Denver and Boulder, you guys are great partners with us. You know, codes are changing with Denver in 2024, 2027. So looking at all of that combined, the North Star is 2030. That's when all the goals have to be hit. Xcel Energy is going to an 85% grid, 85% clean energy grid with renewables and wind and solar by 2030. So our goal with the Heat Pump Action Group is to say, we want to look at all this goal making by all of these groups, specifically Xcel, and say, how many heat pumps do you really need installed by 2030? How much adoption? How many replacements of AC with the heat pump? And so we are hearing numbers from the cities and from Xcel, and there's 45 other organizations that intervene in this process. We need to find out, because if everyone's throwing out 100,000, 300,000, we in the industry, the manufacturers and distributors decide, why don't we drive just actually doing the analytics from the data that we have to figure out what is that number. We think it'd be 690,000. If that's the case, Xcel, we need to make sure that there's market development and all things in place for our contractors and the workforce problems. That's what caused us to start this committee. And Pete, thank you for stepping up, because it's a big task. And the only other piece that I would add is we also, EBC's partnering with Rocky Mountain Institute, RMI, and their data analytics team is committed to now working with our heat pump action group on forecasting. So we've done an initial forecast with our manufacturers and distributors, a smaller group. We want to bring this and tell you guys what we believe and what we're learned so far in September at the next meeting. That's going to be the big topic.
Yeah, and it just kind of touch base on that. There's like 3 different levels of adoption that we're looking at as far as percentages to get to the goal, the end goal, and how quickly we can get to that end goal. And that's kind of where we're at with that. And what we're finding now, more than anything else, is that the biggest challenge that we're going to have is having enough people to do the work to make that happen. So, you know, we're in the midst of discussing that and trying to figure out how we can get to that point. So that's really where it's at right now at this point. Did I miss anything, Patricia?
No, I think the thing that's interesting is the data that you guys have pulled has been from California, their experience, and then the New England states, Vermont, New York, and we're built a model based on the energy savings, but we don't have enough data available to figure out carbon savings. Like, what is going to be asked of Xcel, then we're going to be able to model that with RMI. So we're seeing anywhere from, we called it organic, like the natural growth that's going to occur. And you guys pulled 2 years of heat pump, growth from the last 2 decades. And then literally 2019, 20, and 21, we're seeing 50 to 150% increase, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
By contractors and distributors, heat pump sales. So when will those overtake HVAC or the gas furnace sales? And then the next one is, when does air conditioners be replaced by heat pumps? And then when is both, and is that going to be by 2030? Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the furnaces did jump over, heat pumps did jump over furnaces in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, or 20. Yeah.
Was it 20? Yeah, 20. And then it kind of dipped back a little bit because of all the constraints on availability of heat pumps. I mean, that's what's happening right now. Is it as fast as they come to us, they're not even getting into our warehouses. They're going out the door from the dock. So that's how fast it's going. They're going out. But so that's happening pretty quickly. I think the challenge is going to be is getting that labor and enough people to do the work is going to be the challenge. So it's going to be a fun thing to tackle. But.
Yeah. And I think in doing the math, if we can say we need 690,000 heat pumps to install by 2030. Okay, if our current, this is the data that I have from some of that work, but if the current workforce is 10,000 employees short in the construction industry, and by 2027, we're supposed to be 147,000 construction employees short, according to the Association of General Contractors. There's a perfect storm coming in 2030 because right now, for every 4, we'll say aged workers who are retiring that leave the industry, one younger generation comes in. Do the math. When we get to 2030, 3/4 of our workforce that are experienced are going to be gone. We're like, hey, we want you to quadruple the amount of HVAC equipment installed by 2030.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of,
or 30 times, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of things that play into that. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we need to really get ramped up to get to that point. There's high school programs we could look at. There's so many different things, to look at to make sure that we're gonna get those people into young people into the business and get excited about putting in heat pumps. So it's like I said, it's a challenge, but it's a fun challenge because it's an opportunity the way I see it. And we have a really good a good look at what through the numbers at what it's going to take to make it happen. So,
and we're not necessarily at this point saying here's what we need to make it happen. Right now we're trying to say right. Here's the number that you're going to need to hit your goals, Xcel and Denver, and so right now, then it's like, now let's all talk about what it's going to take to get there. And Xcel is this docket, is the perfect place to start putting those numbers out there in when we intervene. So any questions? Is that helpful to know? Participation. So September, we're going to roll this out to the larger group, which is, here in this call, but we're going to promote it and probably, and then probably maybe have 1 or 2 forecasting meetings with RMI and bring in anybody on this committee that wants to be a part of those numbers. And I know, NREL, you might want to join in.
I was going to say, I'd love to see those growth numbers, Pete, that you were describing, if you're able to share them now or eventually. I think that'd be really interesting to take a look at. I know you rattled them up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I was going to ask the same thing because I feel like maybe in one meeting we saw a couple of stats like that, but it'd be great to see that aggregated in one area. I'd love to be able to share that back with our group.
Yeah, absolutely. And realize we're a bunch of manufacturers who forecasted for our jobs, right? So we do forecasts for sales, and we're looking for RMI to put more meat underneath it. Are we doing this right? What, can you pull all these goals and help us? Yeah. We can tell you what sales are, where they think they can go based on our restrictions. I'm talking like I used to be a manufacturer's rep in insulation, so that's what I'm talking like that. But that would be, I think we'll have an interim meeting before our September meeting and probably try to meet with RMI a couple times. So please, we will be sending out that invite as well for the forecasting specific meeting. So we did do that in person because it was so much easier. It's too hard to do it on Zoom when we're laying everything out. We're working on it and debating it and around a table. So it will probably be in person. We'd have to figure out we'd have to put our Zoom on to have you guys join in. So absolutely, you're invited to join in that. The first meeting we had 2 distributors, 3 manufacturers, 1 retired guy. And then that group of companies completely switched in our second forecasting meeting. So the only consistent people in this meeting is Sean Lamons, Matt Baker, Pete, and me. And so we've kind of gotten a different group every time the core group is join in. So we'd love to have you join going forward and have a consistent group. Yeah.
Yeah, I was also going to chime in on your question about carbon savings. I've been involved in a lot of conversations around that and thinking about the best methodology to use for that. And have a paper that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks here at the ACEEE conference. So anyway, I'd be happy to make a recommendation, kind of what we think is state of the art in terms of the right values to use for calculation. And it's, there's ways to do it where it doesn't have to be complicated, where you can use it, more simple. But yeah, I mean, basically long run marginal emissions factors is kind of what it seems like the consensus is what you should be using for energy efficiency and for electrification measures to quantify the carbon savings. So, and those are available. They're future looking, and they're available from NREL. There's a data set called Cambium that NREL makes available. So happy to share the link to that.
That would be great, which if we're not talking about heat pumps and there's no other questions, you just led into our next topic perfectly. Any other comments on the heat pump HVAC side before we move forward?
A question, and you don't have to go into now, maybe one of these future meetings we can, but I'm really interested in the comment about how there's not a large enough workforce, we think, to put in the number of heat pumps we think that will have to be put in by 2030. And I kind of have this naive impression that, there's air conditioners going in every day, right? So is the issue that installers of air conditioners aren't trained to do the heat pump installs, or is there a shortage of air conditioner contractors as well?
The problem is that it's not necessarily either one or the other. The biggest challenge is that the amount of people that have been in the industry for a very long time or are now moving out, retiring and moving out of the industry, and there's not enough young people to take those places, and that's the biggest challenge. Patricia said it perfectly. I mean, 4 to 1. I mean, we got 4 people leaving and 1 person coming in, and it's going to get even as time goes along. That number is going to get larger and larger and larger down the road. So that's the biggest challenge is getting. It's not necessarily, because when you really look at it, when it's all said and done, there's not a whole lot of difference between installing a heat pump versus installing an air conditioner.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of having the people to do it.
Well, and to add to that, Pete, right, to hit some of these goals, we're going to have to see some early retirement replacements, right, which we may not see as standard business practice, but that's going to increase labor requirements as well.
Absolutely.
So
yep.
Yeah, and
thanks.
Then I actually have a whole, so we are tackling that topic specifically, Eric, at our September meeting on September
1st.
Excuse me,
15th.
15th.
I thought it was 1st.
Wow. Okay. That's
Quarterly.
Quarterly meeting. Yeah, it's 7:30 in the morning till 9:30. And so we are talking about the labor situation, also like the changes that are coming. For example, I'm trying to get BPI to be a speaker because they are actually starting a certification for decarbonization. This is like the old days when we started doing HER scores, right, for energy efficiency savings. So yeah, so that's the new thing that's coming as well. We're going to talk about the turnover rate that I think our industry believes that we just need more skilled labor. And I'm going to debunk that because the problem also is that if you hire 10 people and you have a 65% turnover rate, you can train them all day long, but then you're going to get 7 more people in 3 months that didn't get trained. So it's kind of like, what's the chicken and the egg? There's that, and then all of our installers say things like, I don't know, that I have to go through 12 guys to get one good guy.
Oh yeah, and that I think that's the challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know, Justin, you might have some comments on that, but it's hard. That's the reality in our industry. So anyway, we're going to talk more about that as well at the September meeting. So the last piece, and what do we have? Like 7 minutes. So I'm going to talk about what we call regulatory affairs, which we've already kind of framed up the 2 dockets that Xcel is having and how we're going to participate in those. So I think a lot of you in this group definitely want to be a part of that conversation. And there's almost 2 groups that from our membership that participate. It's almost like third-party implementers, raters, engineering firms are kind of like one group. And then the other are straight up contractors and manufacturers and distributors with 2 different, there's an energy transition that's happening and RFPs that those third-party implementers are going after. And then we literally on the front lines have contractors saying, this rebate doesn't work. The paperwork is 13 pages too long, or manufacturers, the ear score is, we can't even use our heat pump. You know, you have a heat pump rebate. We can't use it because the ear score is too high, you know, so it doesn't work on variable speed heat pumps, those kind of things. So we dive into very specific challenges on the front lines that we want to get Xcel to change their process, rulemaking, how they advertise. I mean, whatever it is. The last plan, 2-year plan for 21-22, Eebc's members came up with 16 proposals to make modifications to existing rebates and new ideas for pilots for new products and services. What we'll be doing, we talk about informing, advocating, and influencing for our members. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is how rebates get made. This is how they get changed. This is how programs get resourced, put market development under them, training, that type of thing. Eebc, we got through last time. There's a $200 spiff for any contractor that gets trained, and I don't think hardly anybody knows that it's there and probably didn't use it the last 2 years. Does it need to be more? You know, that type of thing. The heat pump action committees, one's manufacturers, distributors, and stakeholders, which is this meeting. Then we have our contractor dealer meeting for heat pump HVAC. We have a super active commercial lighting group that already is put a survey together, 25 questions, 23 companies responded. We are now working hand in hand, informally, socializing with the ideas of here's the top 10 things, rebates that we should be thinking about with DR and how lighting can help in the commercial industry when utilities hit their peak at night. Narrative right now for lighting is, oh, all the low-lying fruit, it's already been tapped. We don't need lighting rebates anymore. And they're saying, oh, no. We're talking about controls. And we think controls is the next thing. And so they want to do a pilot on that. So that's the kind of stuff that each one of these groups can rally around. I believe that we should start also a envelope shell, like a building envelope group, which would be insulation, air sealing, the energy raters, and ducts, you know, that type of thing. And then we've been kicking around if there should be what we've talked about as a demand response group that is more implementer oriented, but not necessarily, because I think a lot of products can be used in that, and the piloting process doesn't allow for us to layer multiple incentives to pilot them together, multiple products and services, that type of thing, behind the meter type things. So I originally called it an emerging technologies group and emerging trends. And our attorneys was like, no, that means something else in this group. But our group, it might work. And they were like, no, you should call it demand response. So I would love to get feedback on that about starting that group, because it's hitting, I think, talking about the carbon, talking at savings, talking about the big issues that are coming in beneficial electrification. We might turn that group into our policy action committee, looking at those high level things, and then the contractor groups are going to be going, this rebate doesn't work, you need to change it, or we need to add a rebate like this. That's the bread and butter of what we do. We're putting together a one-page front and back side pager to explain the timing of these and have a list of all the legal deadlines by Xcel that have to be hit in the PUC. Like, when do we have to register, intervene? When do we turn our proposals in? Right now, the next step is going to be asking you guys to take the strategic issues plan. These are 500-page documents, but 2023 rebate plan. And we have Howard Geller from SWEEP, who's retired, and we've hired him to go through the plan and highlight and give our members in each industry, like lighting, page 153, you need to look at that. There's a change that you might not want to address, or heat pumps, where do you want to address this? But they're going to go through and flag and highlight the different industry concerns that are probably in there and where to look, so you don't have to read through two $500-page documents. That's one of the benefits of being the EBC. We want to fast track that for you and get the committees sitting together and looking at what's in there and go, what do we want to be in the next plan for 24-25? We are also, by the way, we're short $50,000. It costs us $150,000 to intervene. It's $350 an hour with the attorneys, and it's 3/4 less of that with Howard. And the whole idea is that Howard's doing the heavy lifting and working with our groups so that we can reduce the legal costs so we can do more. So that's kind of where we're at. Any comments about the process or how you guys would like to participate, or recommendations on the groups? I am completely open to that. And I think we have like a minute left probably. Thank you for coming. We will send out all that we talked about today, the PowerPoint, the recording, and the minutes. But if you'd like to stay a second and give us feedback on intervening, because that's going to be the hot topic. It's now. Right now is determining our rebates for the next 2 years with beneficial electrification and the 5-year goals with the strategic issues. 4 months we've got right now to do all this work. Any feedback or comments? Thank you for coming.